Hi, guys.
Hey.
Let's talk fascism. First of all, I guess, Jonah, I want to start with you. Your book is Liberal Fascism, and it's really kind of the first voyage into this world for me. We don't even know our history. George Carlin said, fascism will never come to the United States unless it has a happy face. So tell me about liberal fascism, or the happy face fascism.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, first of all, it's important to remember that you're right, that we associate fascism with genocidal racism, right? The Holocaust. And I would not want to diminish the moral power of the Holocaust in the slightest. But what we tend to do is play the movie backwards. And we seem to think that everything that came before the Holocaust is really associated with it. And the reality is, for example, and I'm not saying this to defend Mussolini or Italian fascism, I don't like either, but you know, Jews were overrepresented in the Italian Fascist Party from its founding until 1938, when the Nazis basically had to bully the Italians into dropping them. Mussolini denounced Hitlerite fascism as 100% racism, saying that, you know, we could never have anything to do with it.
He hated him.
Right. So the idea that fascism means racism is really a glossing over.
My Uncle Leo, I think he's 91. He is from Italy. The family saw what was coming, and so they sent him. He was the only one they sent over to the United States. He fought on our side. He was always at the front of the boat. He landed on the beaches on D-Day. He was always on the front of the boat because they always wondered he's probably a spy, because he was just off the boat. He told me, this was about a month ago, we were in a restaurant and we were talking about fascism, and he said, let me tell you, I don't care what anyone says, oh, Mussolini was a good man. And I'm like, okay, Leo, keep your voice down, will you? I mean, the people in Italy liked him. Why?
They loved him. They thought he was the savior of Italy in many ways. Italy was in a world of chaos. He was one of the first serious youth leaders on the world stage. The Italian fascists considered themselves a youth movement, much as the Nazis did. He was an international sex
youth movement.
A youth movement. They considered themselves leaders of a new generation that has come up, that were, you know, they were the Pepsi generation of their day. And Mussolini was astoundingly, I think, from our standards today, a sex symbol. When the government needed gold from the people, I think 250,000 housewives sent their gold wedding rings in to be melted down. They were so devoted to the man. And in terms of happy fascism, I think the point here is that fascism, you know, today we seem to think of fascism that, oh, well, you know, during World War II, there were a bunch of people who decided to be villains in World War II movies for the rest of time, and they were the bad guys. But fascism was not seen as that. It was seen as what Anne Moreau Limburg called the wave of the future. It was seen as the new model, the new paradigm that could deal with the problems that capitalism and liberal democracy were no longer capable of dealing with.
We've already been down this road, and we're going to get into that a little bit later, but I want to ask you, the turning point seems to be a guy that everybody, you know, so many people say, oh, Teddy Roosevelt, he was fantastic. But he captured the Republicans where Woodrow Wilson and FDR captured the Democrats for this progressive movement and took us fundamentally off the tracks that our founders had built and moved us into another direction. True or false, and can you explain?
Yeah, I think that's very true. And you have to remember, TR, the great difficulty with TR is he's just such a likable fellow, and he's a great American character. Many people who consider themselves to be conservative and patriotic are attracted to his military heroism. This is a guy, you know, who of course was shot giving a speech in 1912 and insisted on staying for the full 90 minutes and finishing his speech. It's hard not to be attracted to a guy like that. You know, the problem is that TR, as you said, was an ardent progressive in his understanding of government. Just to give you a couple examples, in the New Nationalism speech that he gave in 1910, which sort of set the theme for his later run again at the presidency, TR was very clear. He said that the national government must be able to sit in judgment of the earning of private wealth. The national government must be able to sit in judgment of how private wealth is used. Later in his autobiography, he talked about what we've called the stewardship theory, and what he said there was that the national government and that the executive branch of it in particular has to be the steward of the people, the steward of their needs, and has to understand that its role is to respond to any any need that the government perceives they have.
The interesting thing because I was reading your book last week, and actually the one on American progressivism, which is just fantastic. And I'm reading it, and I'm reading the words of Teddy Roosevelt and how they viewed the President of the United States, that he had the power of the people. He was the one. He should have this cleared out power to be able to respond in a democratic fashion. Democracy, not republic, democracy. Have the people behind him. It was like 2 days later that I read that, you know, Obama had fired one of the CEOs over at General Motors. But Michael Moore posted and said, people are saying, what can we do about it? Nothing. You can't stop him because Obama has the power of the people, and we have given him the right to do whatever he sees fit. And I thought, that's it. Progressive fascism. It's here. We invite you to stay with us for the remaining of the hour, because this show, taken out of context, which it will be, is going to be able to turn upside down on its head, because we're talking about fascism. For people who think that fascism couldn't happen here in America, give me 5 minutes and we'll explain. But first I want to lay the groundwork here on the actual word that I say fascism because people understand that. Socialism, people understand that. They don't truly understand what Hillary Clinton had. I don't have the number here, the Hillary Clinton, it is SOT number 1. Could you play that? When she said this, I went, oh my gosh. Watch this.
I prefer the word progressive, which has a real American meaning, going back to the progressive era at the beginning of the 20th century. I consider myself a modern progressive, someone who believes strongly in individual rights and freedoms, who believes that we are better as a society when we're working together.
That is the key. We're better as a society when we're working together. America, do your homework on early 20th century American progressivism. It is Roosevelt and Wilson are the iconic faces of this. RJ, they took us off of the track of the founding of America, where we didn't even look at our Constitution anymore. What happened?
But by any sort of it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck test of what looks like real fascism, what happened under Woodrow Wilson during World War I meets that test by a country mile.
America, please, you will understand history. You will understand where we're headed. You'll understand why you don't feel like there's a choice between the Republicans and the Democrats, especially last time with John McCain and Barack Obama. You're like, well, what's the difference between the two of them? Progressive, what happened in America with the progressive movement, as Hillary Clinton said, at the beginning of the 20th century, explains it all. Amity, let me start with you, because I want to go to the Depression. I want to talk a little bit about that. But what I want to do is, because we're running up against clock now, is spend a little time on who is the person we should look to that stood up against this. Who are the people that were successful? I know Henry Ford was one of them in FDR. He stood up and said, this is wrong. Who else?
Goering, a tyrant group whose end was to be one of ignominious doom. In the Nazi downfall, Mussolini has been executed by patriots of his own country, and Hitler has come to an end appropriate to a war maker, the atrocities of whose Nazi regime have shocked the world.
Okay. God forbid we ever go down that road again, and I'm not predicting that we go down that road. What I'm talking tonight about is destined to repeat fascism, whatever you want to call it, state control, where your liberties are limited, whether it's the temperature in your house, because it's not good for the planet, all the way to, well, I'm sorry, you got to go to a camp. There are many stages of it, but all of them don't lead to freedom and liberty.
I'm not a crook.